Joining us for another Sunday weekly market update. My name's Geoff Pyne and I'm coming to you live from Tasmania in Australia, where it's just a little bit chilly tonight and I'm rugged up, as you can see. Got my woolly jumper on. That's what we call sheep in this country, woolly jumpers. Jump, get it? Jump. Sorry. My attempt at humour, which doesn't work often. In fact, doesn't work at all. I'm going to take you tonight through my version of what I look for the upcoming week, which is pretty much not where the market potentially was going, but where I potentially see changes in the market. So looking not necessarily for reversals as such, but it could be retracements. They could be anything to do with whatever's not going in the same direction. It's like, okay, I'm not a lemming. I don't want to jump over the cliff with the lemmings. And that's kind of where I live in the world of trading. So let's get started with explaining that just a little bit further, I suppose, for those of you who aren't familiar with the way I trade. First up, we look at the weekly charts, and I'm looking for a bias heading into the week. Not necessarily looking for a trade as such, but something that will get me in a position to take a trade, maybe tomorrow, maybe Tuesday, maybe Wednesday. It depends on exactly how things pan out, of course. First up, I have isolated what this week I think is half a dozen what I call weekly game changer bars. Hence, the directional change that I'm looking for is depicted, hopefully, by these candles that are telling me, don't go that way, go this way. The primary thesis behind that is that the candle should change the previous direction. So if it doesn't do that, then I'm really not interested in taking that bias into that week. And here's a case in point. First one is euro pound. Now, a game changer candle or a game changer bar is, in fact, by definition, a candle or bar whose low, in this case, is lower than the previous week and closes on or near its high. So this one qualifies for that. So does that one there. And as you can see, the week that changed direction, or did it, where was the direction? The direction was actually sideways, right? And therefore, I would eliminate that as a game changer because it's not changing a downward direction. It's changing a sideways, or it's attempting to change a sideways direction. So when sideways becomes reversal, it only goes to a resistance area in this case and turns around. So I'm not interested in that. What I am interested in is something that actually changes direction this way. So if we've got a descending trend, if you like, or momentum, let's call it that, and we get a game changer bar sitting there, like that one was, then I'm interested. But off a clear consolidation pattern or rectangle sideways motion, whatever you want to call it, non-trend or non-momentum, then it's really not changing the game, is it? The game is staying the same. So for that reason, if you are with me so far, and I hope you are, this candle is probably going to drive price to the resistance level. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in a change of direction, interested in something that goes up here. It may well do that, but I can't tell from this range. So for that reason, I would leave that one alone and go to the next one. The next one I've isolated is pound versus the CAD. There's going to be a few examples in here which are absolutely perfect examples as to why I wouldn't take the trade, not necessarily why I would. When I say take the trade, I mean you can trade these game changer bars when they are actually changing the game. And I'm more than happy to do that if everything else coincides with the candle or the bar. So this one qualifies because it's going in the opposite direction to what we just qualified as a game changer bar going long, which is one of these, lower than the previous week, closed on or near its high. Happy to enter there. That one did change the game. That's a perfect example of that. So we've had 1, 2, 3, 3.5, let's call it, weeks of downside, which of course is a retracement on the trend. Then we got this game changer bar. We can trade that. Have we got the same thing happening here? 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks of rallying, and then we get a game changer bar whose high is higher than the previous week, and it closed on or near its low. Now, by definition, if I follow that rule, that becomes a trade. So I could trade underneath there, put my stop loss above the highs. However, there are additional things that I need to take into consideration, and those would be what's actually dominating this chart. What direction are we gaining, or what momentum are we gaining from a candle or a chart pattern? And that's what I'll be looking for, primarily a chart pattern more than one candle. Though this one here is extremely dominant, and obviously price has gone in that direction. I'm looking further afield than that. I'm looking at a far bigger or greater picture than is the case here. I'm going to go with opening up a new chart on pound CAD so I can explain that just a little bit further. So let's go with that. We'll just use a blank template so that I can explain it. What I really need to see is what is the dominant feature of this chart. What is the governing factor? What is ruling price in the long term? Not necessarily the short term. In fact, I'm not interested really in the short term, interested in the long term, because don't forget we're looking at weekly charts here. So I go straight to the bigger time frame, which is the monthly chart. And I ask myself the question, what is ruling here? What is the governing factor? Is it that candle? Is it this double top? And I have to, in this instance, go in favor of the double top. Why? Well, because everything really, since the double top occurred, is giving me, hang on 2 secs and I'll grab my pen. Everything since the double top occurred is giving me grief if I'm a buyer. And you can even say that we've got a left shoulder here and a right shoulder here. So this has actually turned price. This has turned the market without question in my mind. We were consolidating through here. Maybe there's a little bit of form back here as well. I'm not even going to go there because I'm already at 2010. I don't need to go back too much further than that. So since 2010, and this is pound versus the CAD, is there anything else going on? You know, Brexit's going on when this occurred, 2015. So there's fundamental issues there as well. So the fundamental issues are still there. We've still got Brexit uncertain. To my mind anyway, I'm not a fundamental player, but it's still there, and I know it's still there. So we've still got issues with that. So this, to me, is the dominant chart pattern, and it's backed up by fundamentals. Everything since then has been underneath. But that currently is the market structure in my mind. I've got a rectangle here, or a box range that's been going on since 2016. August 2016, if you like, you can go back to January of 2016. But Brexit happened, we had that. Since that time, we've been going sideways. We had a very, very aggressive push to the downside, which was rejected very, very aggressively as well. And guess what? We've come back inside that range. So what do I expect to happen next? Well, I expect price to go to the top of the range, because that makes sense. When it hit here, went to the, well, not quite the top. Hit here, went to the top. Hit here, went to the top. False break here. What's my expectation? It's going to go to the top. Yes, there's a fair bit of resistance through here, but ultimately we've broken that and we're headed towards the top. So that's my analysis on what is governing this price or this chart or this currency pair. And it's the same for everything that I do. Once I've got that idea in my head that the actual big boss, as I call it, is this area here, then I can't go long until that changes off a game changer bar anyway. Let me then go back to the game changer bar and see if that agrees with my analysis. Game changer bar is saying go short here. That's interesting. Didn't I just say that everything appears to be bearish to me from a dominant point of view? Then I add a few more things. I want to see where we are in context currently. And it appears that we're at a strong resistance level since 2022, January 2022, or wherever that is. We have struggled to get back to here. And as soon as we did, we rejected that price. Now, this may well be a lower high based on that rejection area. So I like this. This makes sense to me. I would be prepared to actually trade that if there's nothing else in the way. So I'd be looking for resistance. Ooh, I just found some support right here. So to trade this candle right now, I would need to go entry there, stop loss above the swing, and look at my profit. It's virtually nil before I hit a support level. So here's the thing. I've now got a bias based on, got a game changer bar, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks up. Big picture is down. Got a game changer bar sitting here that suggests that we go short. I'm on board, completely on board with that from a directional point of view. What I now need to see is an entry that gives me something in terms of reward to risk that makes sense. And this does not make sense to me. So what do? We wait till Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday. I don't care how long it takes. But we've got a double top sitting here. If I were now to see a rally on Monday, bit of follow through on Tuesday, and a lower high put in place, that maybe gave me a game changer bar on the daily chart, I would then be confident to trade that short. As it stands, I can't trade it. Well, I can, but why would I when the risk far outweighs the reward? And for that reason, okay, this is on absolute watch, pound versus the CAD, but it is not a trade right now. Hope that sinks in, because that's precisely what I do each and every week, looking for those opportunities to give me directional bias, but also weighing it up with what is in front of me. And what's in front of me is, ooh, stop sign. No, not yet. Okay, so let's move on and see if we can find one that does work. Pound yen, pretty much the same. We've got a game changer bar. We've had 1-2 weeks of strong rallying, but look back here. OMG, this is on fire, this thing, pound versus the yen. And why wouldn't it be? Because the yen has just been so rejected for the longest time. And if I go back to 2019 here, we've just been in such a strong trend. It's like a skyrocket since the beginning of this year, certainly. It's just been a skyrocket. And the yen is just despised as a currency at the moment. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Question to myself: what happens when things take off and go like a skyrocket, as fast and furious as has pound versus the yen? Now, forget fundamentals at this point in time. And I'm not suggesting you forget fundamentals per se, but at this point in time, I'm suggesting that we need to look at history, if you like, in terms of chart patterns. And as far as, let me just turn that into another one, pound versus the yen. I'll go to another chart if I can find it. Pound yen, where is it? That's a little bit more popular. It's up here. So let's turn pound CAD into pound yen and compare the two. As I said, this is on fire. It's just going absolute nuts. The trend is so strong, it's unbelievable. Look at the big picture. The big picture, is the big picture the same? Or are we going counter the big boss? Great question. And from this chart, I really can only see what I saw on pound versus the CAD. And that is head and shoulders, smashed it, came back, didn't quite even make it to the neckline before it catapulted. This is during the financial crisis, the global financial crisis. I've got to say, where you would expect a flight to safety, and that's exactly what happened, where the yen was strong during the global financial crisis. Since that point, it's taken a long time for the pound to gain traction against the yen. In 2012, it had a very, very strong run at that. Guess where it went? To the previous breakout level and stopped in its tracks and smashed down again through, guess what? Brexit, right? So can't forget your fundamentals, but that's Brexit happening there. So since then, and Brexit hasn't worked itself out yet, but the yen has been so weak due to the Bank of Japan not willing to raise interest rates that the pound has just continued and strengthened against the yen, as has every man and his dog, if you like, strengthened against the yen. So where are we now in terms of what is driving this market, or what's the big boss? Is it this head and shoulders? Is it this double bottom? Is it this double bottom? And it seems to me, it occurs to me that this double bottom is right now in control, because price is going higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. The question I have in my head right now is that high enough to turn the market around? And that's what this candle is suggesting, or the weekly game changer bar is suggesting. To my mind, the answer is no, because I see the strongest level on this chart right now as this level here. And it's not inconceivable for me to think that it can't go to that, that it will reverse here, but it's almost inconceivable to think that we're not going there before that happens. For that reason, and giving this the benefit of any doubt that it's the big boss at the moment, I'm suggesting that it's impossible for me to trade this short right now, pound versus the yen. Fundamentally, that could change. And if I see evidence of that, what looks like a beautiful tweezer top as well, I've got to say, if I see evidence that that is actually turning the market, and for that, I would need to see some confirmation of that tweezer top, which would happen as perhaps a lower high, a retest of that level there, maybe 2 or 3 weeks down the track. But right now, it's not a trade for me, pound versus the yen, although I think it's a fantastic opportunity to see exactly what does happen if price cannot get to that level. But that's my favourite at the moment, that we're going to 195.75 or whatever that level is. So I can't trade it short right now. I'm not going to do exactly the same for the next three, but I hope you get the picture as to how I approach the week and what I'm actually looking for. So the next one is actually pound versus the Kiwi. And I'll just briefly go through why I'm not willing to trade this. Game changer bar, and this is a different scenario in terms of why I can't trade it. Can't trade it because it's a single bar or single candle reversal. Is it changing the game? By definition, oh yeah, it'll change the game, because the game right now is super strong to the upside. So I cannot possibly imagine a stronger game changer than this one, pound versus the Kiwi. The problem that I would have in trading it long right now, and I'm on the monthly chart here right now, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, blip, 7 months in a row, and we're right at the end of the month now, or very close to the end of the month. I can't possibly think that I can trade that either short or long. After 7 months, can I actually jump in on the bandwagon? Well, I can, but it's not my thing. And I would suggest that after 7 months, if you chose to jump in on the bandwagon, you're a little bit late to the party, right? So for that reason, and that reason alone, the only direction I would even consider trading this would be short. However, the flip side of that is it's been trending and going strong for 7 months. Can I possibly say that this is now going to change? No, I can't. What I can say is it's due to change, and if I got proof that that is even a thing in the market's mind, then I would be willing to really, really small risk jump on board. But it's not off a single reversal bar. It would have to be a sell-off of maybe 2 or 3 weeks, maybe 2 weeks, and then a reply from the buyers, which failed. And that would appear as a lower high because they've failed to take out the high. When I saw that, or if I saw that, then I could say, all right, let's give this a chance. But it would still be high risk given the extremely strong momentum and the trend. The second last of the game changer bars this week was pound, or is pound versus the dollar. This was my big pick last week to trade short. And the reason for that was twofold. There was no game changer bar last week, but there was something that was very, very interesting. And I was being shown a false break, or even a head and shoulders, if you like, of this particular currency pair. Didn't quite get a game changer bar, this one, but it was certainly giving us warning. Remember, I was looking for a lower high on the previous one. Didn't really get it on this one either. But what we did get on a daily chart was that lower high with a game changer bar on the daily. That was 3 or 4 weeks ago. So that put us on notice. And turns out that we got a break below that level and a retest of that level. If I put that line in, you can see exactly what I'm saying here. So this turns out, at this point anyway, to be a complete false break of this resistance area. And that's exactly what I was looking to play. Missed it, when was that? Week or so, 2 weeks ago, with this game changer bar, because I wasn't prepared to trade into the support level. And that turned out to be a correct decision. But now we've got another one on the daily chart. You see how these game changer bars keep turning up? And every time they do, price goes a little bit further deep, or a little bit deeper short. And this one here has really turned the market. So on the weekly chart, that looks very much to me like this is headed south. How far? Well, great question. Maybe to there in the first instance. And therefore, that's not going to give us a great, once again, reward to risk. So what do? We look at this bar and go, that's proven this false break. Now all we need to see is an entry that gives us profit before the support level. So that's exactly what I'm looking for on pound versus the dollar. Broken this level about here, you can see the resistance area here, the support that's now been smashed. I want to see a nice retest of that area. Yes, I know what happened in a daily bar on Friday. Potentially news-driven, that whipsaw action. Don't know exactly what happened on Friday, but I'd like to see a nice bullish bar retest this level, fail to close above it, and that would be my signal to go short. Title of the game changer bars, but the game changer bar is giving me the directional bias, right? And that's what I wanted to point out. Directional bias is short. Last of the game changer bars for the week, and I won't dwell on this too much either, is most definitely dollar yen. Dollar yen, again, the yen has just been so weak, and I know I've been harping on it. But look at dollar yen since November 2020, as we've got it down here. Elon Musk would be proud of that. He'd be going, yes, X, Y, X, X, X. This looks very much to me like it's on its way to at least test that high, if not more than that, test that high with interest. Yet, is it? I go to the dollar index, and the dollar index kind of rules my world when I'm trading currencies, simply because it is the still, unfortunately, and for how long I don't know, it is still the base or the dominant currency of the world. Everything is traded in US dollar, not everything, and they're trying to change that, and I'm totally on board with that. And I think ultimately, long term, the US dollar is worth way, way less than it is right now. But currently, that's not the case, because it has rejected this rectangle, which again is one of my things, right? I love chart patterns. And when I see that, I see a failed breakout of this consolidation area. There's another one there, chart pattern, which is, of course, a descending channel, which now has been broken once again. And I see this going to this area here, and I've been promoting that for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And I don't see that being anything but a retest of this area. Of course, things change from day to day. When I look at this chart, I say, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks of rallying. This is the dollar index I'm talking about, not the dollar versus one currency, but the dollar versus 7 currencies. What do I expect to happen here? Oh, we're going to here, right? However, where are we right now? We're at a level that has been rejected as resistance, offered support through here briefly, then offered resistance, smashed it, false break of that resistance level, back to it again, smashed off it again. Then we got the false break of support. But we have gone top to bottom, bottom to top, top to bottom, bottom to top. When I see a level as strong as that broken, the one thing I do expect is that that will be retested. Therefore, this weekly chart, as strong as that bar is, it's hit a resistance level, and I do expect that there will be some selling happening here before we hit that level. So my bias, if you like, going into Monday and probably Tuesday and Wednesday is not bullish, the dollar. Rather, it's bearish. Therefore, when I look at dollar yen, I'm not thinking we're going here. Maybe this week. I'm on a monthly chart there, but I don't think we're going there this day, tomorrow, or maybe even Tuesday. So I'm expecting a pullback. Maybe only to that level, but that's exactly what I'm expecting rather on dollar versus the yen. So the weekly game changer bar, which by definition isn't changing the game at all, it's continuing the game. Remember, a game changer changes the direction. This is not going to change the direction. It's actually going to add or continue the direction. So for that reason, that's a non-trade for me. And the governing factor, which of course is the resistance level on which we find ourselves on the dollar index, is telling me, not jumping in here. They're the game changer bars, but only one or two of them are really of interest to me. Certainly this one is not. What is of interest to me this week are 4 other currency pairs, and I'm going to show you why. We just looked at the dollar index, and the dollar index is suggesting, to me anyway, that we're going to have a pullback this week. When I flip that on its head and turn it into euro versus the dollar, it's here that it gets interesting. Because if I'm thinking downside dollar, then I'm thinking upside euro. Let me go back to this particular chart, which is the monthly chart on the euro. I like to play false breaks. They're my favorite thing to play at the end of the day because they give me great opportunities to get longer term movements in the market. And when I see things like this happen, monthly chart, euro dollar, where we had this incredible sell-off of the euro versus the dollar, or the strength in the dollar, call it whatever you want. Then we had, well, you can't really call it a V-shaped recovery because that would be up here. But sometimes it takes a lot longer for that to take place. And I saw a clean break back above that level, not only the support level, which is depicted by these lows, but also that horizontal support level. When we broke that and came back and retested it, my analysis tells me that we're headed to here minimum, to here as a bonus. And if we're really, really thinking that the dollar will sink ultimately, then wow, maybe all the way up here. And the remarkable thing about things like that is, oh no, that can't possibly happen. Look how far that is. Or no, it's not going to happen ever. What would you have said here? Would you have said we're going back to parity when we're at $1.60? No, that can't happen. Can't happen. Can. So my analysis on that is that ultimately this will recover and recover big time. That's not now, of course. And the weekly chart has shown us that we've come back underneath that level. Yet we've formed another chart pattern here, which is an ascending channel. And guess where we are? We're right at the bottom of that channel on a former resistance and support level, which is around about 108. So given what I've said about the dollar index that I expect to retrace this week, I'm expecting that we're going to see euro dollar strength. So that's the weekly chart. This is the daily. How the hell am I going to trade against that strong momentum? Well, there's two ways. One is that if we break below this trade line, or trend line, it's a trend line as well. It's also at the bottom of the channel, really. But if we break below here and fail to take out this low, for instance, Monday, Tuesday, maybe we find its weekly support level, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or whatever day, doesn't matter. And we come back above that level. And then maybe it's Friday, maybe it's next week, we come back and retest that area, but fail to close below it. That's exactly what I'd be looking for to enter this long. That would then give me the opportunity to bounce off this level and fill that channel, which is exactly what's in my head for euro dollar this week. Pound Swiss, I want to give you a little glimpse inside my mind on pound versus the Swissy. This has been in an incredibly long range, incredibly long. And here's the bar I want to point out to you. Forget whatever else is going on. No, don't forget whatever else is going on. It's not true. But here's the thing. This massive rejection bar here, and I'm on a monthly chart, right, which is extremely dominant to the downside. There's absolutely, you can't argue that. There's just no argument. Every single time in the recent history, since 2015, in fact, that we put in a lower low, we're all going, right, this is it. This is going to rally. And it does. But then it puts in another lower low. Then it rallies again. Then it puts in another lower low. And it's done exactly the same thing last year. Currently, when I look at this chart, I think, OMG. Look at this. Every single piece of price, no tails, outside of this bar since November, or no, it was October, I think. October of 2022. 10 months ago. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months we have been lingering inside this bar, which was a follow-on of that massive rejection of parity pretty much down here. Pound versus the Swissy. What do I expect will happen here? Well, remember the Elon Musk skyrocket, as I pointed out before? That's what I expect will happen here. Can I trade that? Gee whiz, I hope I can. I really want to be involved. So what I need to do is find a way into this, because that's exactly where my bias lies. But when I look at the chart, all I see is consolidation. That's all that's evident on this chart. However, at the moment, we do have this going on. Let me use the trade line. It's a little bit acute, but we do have this going on. We've got a lovely base here, no question. Double bottom most recently. Higher low, higher high. So double bottom, higher low, higher high. Looking for another higher low in here. What I would love to see is price get back above that trade line, then retest it. If that were to be the case, I would certainly enter this long and think, my goodness, I'm on the launch pad. Can I possibly get this up to here at least? And then if it were to reverse at some stage, get it up to here, wherever, That's the whole point. This could be a massive reward to risk scenario. Just got to find an entry and one that makes sense, then get safe in the market, blah, blah, blah. So that's pound versus the Swissy. I'm going to give you the last one that I'm really keen on and have been since Adam played fullback for Jerusalem. Or was it Jesus that played fullback? Not sure. I think it was Jesus, actually. And apologies to those who think I'm blasphemous. Probably I am. I've got an amazing scenario here. And just like I pointed out with pound Swissy, CAD Swissy has been under this enormous bearish momentum and bearish undertone and pressure for the longest time, turn of the century even. And it's tried, and it's tried, and it's tried again to get above this 78 area and failed every single time. Most recently last year in about July or something like that, can't quite remember. And it's all been downhill since then. Every single time it tries to rally, it gets knocked over, gets knocked over, gets knocked over, gets knocked over. I know because I've tried to trade it long before. And I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for this to show me that it can actually reverse. I've got a funny feeling that fundamentals are going to be the driver of this rather than technicals. However, that said, I can get in on technicals, I can't get in on fundamentals. So I'm more than willing to risk, say, 0.25% in trying to get into this move, because once it goes, just like pound Swiss, I think it will go like an Elon Musk X rocket. Currently, I've got a market structure that's telling me downward channel. When I see that, I think, great, I've got something to work with, because generally we go from top to bottom bottom to top, top to bottom. Oh, we're at the bottom. What are we going to do? Are we going to just try and scalp this and jump in? I don't recommend that because I'm not a scalper and I'm not that confident that this level is the one, right? However, if I can find a way in on my own system, then I'm more than willing to trade this long, CAD versus the Swissy. Have I got it right now? It's a mess here, really. And essentially, this trade line has been violated too many times for me to trust. However, if I'm talking big reward, like 20 times, 20x or whatever, am I really willing to risk, say, 0.25% to pick that move up? Yeah, I am. 100%, yeah, I am. And it really is showing me this is a false break of this level. So am I willing to put an entry above this bar? Yes, I am. But where's my stop going to go? And that's the question at the moment. So this is going to be my trade of the week, but I'm not placing it yet. I have to wait for tomorrow morning to see. Maybe the market gaps up here and I can't get in. Maybe it gaps down here and, oh, I don't want to be in. So I've got to watch that closely. But if the market opens in an equilibrium fashion, in other words, pretty much where it closed on Friday, then I will place an order above this candle, but I'm not going to trade the candle as such. I'm going to put my stop loss where I think the stop loss has got less chance of being hit. The problem I have with that is there is no history, nil history beyond where we are. So what I have to do is get underneath the lowest point that I can find, which of course was only last week, I think. Yes, last Wednesday. I've got to get well underneath there. So that's exactly what I would look to do. I don't know, 15, 20 pips, something of that nature would be where my stop loss is. And I'd be willing to take that on as a buy above Friday's bar. So that's it. I'm going to leave you with that. And I sincerely hope that something was of value to you. And I wish you have a wonderful week ahead, profitable one at that. And I look forward to catching up next time. I'm on Sunday weekly market update. Thank you for your company and thank you all. Have a wonderful week ahead. See ya. Bye-bye.